So today we're going to talk about parties, what they do, and the two-party system. So first and foremost, political parties consist of organizations whose members hold similar views on public issues. Political parties seek to determine public policy through winning elections and having their members hold public office. Just to elaborate a little bit more on public policy and what it is. Public policy is when all of government's actions and programs that address issues and problems in society or work towards a national goal. And typically there we see 5 stages when creating policy. First, you recognize a problem, you formulate the policy, adopt the policy, implement or carry out the policy, and then evaluate the policy and the effectiveness of that policy. Alright, so what is a political party? A political party is a group of persons who seek to control government through winning elections and holding public office. An example of a political party would be the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So here in the U.S., we have 2 major political parties. We are considered a two-party system because we have just 2 major political parties. That's the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Both of these parties are election-oriented, meaning they are not primarily focused on issues. So they're not issue-oriented. They are going to be driven by the election, driven by the potential that they could be reelected for another term. Okay, so as to why do we have a two-party system here in the U.S., first and foremost, political parties started to originate around the beginning of the formation of the Constitution, when we were talking about the Federalist and Anti-Federalist, and how the Federalists were in support of the Constitution and the Anti-Federalists were against the Constitution. And we started to see a divide between people and between how they felt about government, how they felt government should be ran. And as we see this divide, we start to see a formation of 2 various parties, again, kind of form out of that divide. It's also a force of tradition. It's always been this way, and it would be very hard for another party to come into the picture now, simply because they, just wouldn't have the funds or the political support to really get very far. Also, Democratic and Republican Party are going to do everything they can to keep it a two-party system. They don't want any other parties involved. They don't want any more competition than they already have with each other. And so they're actually, in this sense, going to actually work together to keep other parties from coming into the picture. The Electoral College tends to promote this. What I mean by this is almost all American elections are held in single-member districts where only one candidate is elected to each office on the ballot. And when they are elected or voted upon, they don't have to have the majority of votes. They just have to have the plurality of votes, and this just means that they have to have the most. And so it's kind of like a winner-take-all system, or first one to the post, first one to get the most votes. And so this makes it very hard for a minor party to come into the picture because, again, they're not going to be as well known. They're not going to have the financial backing or the support that, say, the Democratic or Republican nominee would have. And so it's going to be very hard for them to get enough votes to beat not only out the Democratic candidate, but also the Republican candidate as well. Alright, so purpose of political parties. Political parties are created to ease political tension and to bond conflicting groups. They are essentially power brokers. They modify and encourage compromise among the contending views of different interests and groups, and so therefore they kind of help to unify rather than actually divide people, as you might think. The major function of a political party is to nominate, name candidates for public office. Parties then work to help their candidates win elections. And this is something you're probably a little bit more familiar with. So political parties Again, they act as a bonding agent to ensure the good performance of their candidates and office holders. They also try to be careful when they choose their candidates. They want to make sure that the person that they have chosen, man or woman, is of good character, and also that they're actually qualified for the office that they are seeking. Parties also inform the people and inspire and activate their interest and participation in public affairs, and we see this with news media, and interest groups do it as well. Some examples of this would be campaigning for their candidate, take a stand on certain issues, criticize the candidates and the positions of their opponents. Now, remember, both parties want to win elections, and that consideration has much to do with the stands that they take on most issues. Both parties try to shape their positions so that they will attract as many voters as possible, or offend as few voters as possible. And so they kind of try to stay in the middle as much as they can. So again, they can get the majority of votes. Congress and state legislators conduct much of their business on the basis of partisanship, which partisanship is just that you are either, Democratic, Republican, you are a part of a particular party, and that is public knowledge. Also, or the opposite of that then would be nonpartisanship, which means that you're not really associated with a particular political party. Yeah, so that's it. This is a really short set of notes, so you're welcome.